Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Ron. It is time to get started. Saturday, March 29th, a little after 10 a.m. So, see if we have any questions and how your week has gone and or anything may be on your mind. Anyone have anything, Nick?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
No, not in particular.
Okay.
Hey, Ron, this is Valerie.
Hey, Valerie, how are you this morning?
I'm good, thanks. And yourself?
I am well. Thank you.
Good. Um, I was watching a video and they asked a question that I was like, wow,
Uh-huh.
who is the author? Who is the author of the Bible?
Good question, and maybe that'll be our discussion this morning. Uh, just looking at the books of the Bible, the 66 books, uh, it has been uh, history has told us that it's been various authors from Mark, Luke, John, and those books, and Moses being author of several books in the Old Testament. Uh, but as we have discussed lately and taking another look at that, all those things may or may not be true, meaning that they may have been prophets and other writers of the scriptures who, when they were searching for truth, but we know that those books have been manipulated. And we talked about the different conferences that that took over 1,000 year span that they were actually editing and making changes. As part of that evidence is in the names of the lack of a better way of saying the characters of the Bible. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are not African names. So as the Bible must manipulate it, I'm not sure if you can pinpoint anymore who is the author of the scriptures. But anyone else have any further insight into that question?
Hey, sure, I can help.
Okay.
Um, so it was written over a period of time by likely many different people, but it would have been a combination of history and the experiences that the group of people who wrote the Bible had while they were in the sort of lands of the people who taught them the things that eventually made it into the Bible. So it would have been the um, sort of people who eventually became known as the Jewish people, uh, recalling what it is that they learned while they were in Kemet, while they were in other parts of Africa and the Middle East as well. So it is a sort of reinterpretation, if you will, of a lot of the uh, principles and teachings that this group of people absorbed while spending time in these parts of the world. Um, so it would have been maintained by, the priests and uh, the learned people of the time, and maintained as oral tradition before they started to write it. So it is uh, sort of reinterpreted through the sort of cultural and uh, mental and emotional lens of that group of people and multiple groups of people over time as it was added to, collected, uh, reinterpreted, etc. And the reason it is so dense with things that might not initially appear as being spiritual or metaphysical in origin, is just because of the way these things have been reinterpreted, added to, remixed, etc., over time before we got to a collection of books that people settled on, well, that the church determined ultimately. Thank you.
Val, I don't know if that helps. Thank you, Nick. Uh, as I think we both said, there is no one person or good way to really pinpoint that. Uh, but there has been several authors and re-authors, if you don't mind me using that word, or editors or whatever. But I think part of this discussion has to be too, though, the brilliance of spirituality is allowing us to pull truth from, as Nick said, what was originally written, and pull truth from that, even though the additions have been made, be able to see what it was, what we need to glean from that. So uh, I hope that helps. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add.
Ron, this is Evelyn.
Hey,
If
Evelyn.
no one has, Grand Rising, if no one else have anything else to add, I have a question.
Oh, well, let's hold on one second, Evelyn. Val, does that help? Does that answer your question? Or if not, hopefully Pastor join us soon and we can readdress it. But does that help a little? What was the
Yeah, it does. It helps a little. Yeah.
what was the conclusion that your group came to when the question was asked? What did
No,
they?
I wasn't. It was no. It was a video that I saw,
Uh-huh.
and the question was asked, and it made me think about it. Like, okay, yeah, but I guess I guess it's like, Nick was saying, there's a collective of, I guess, like you said, for lack of a better word, authors, people contributing different books to it. So I guess when they combined it all into one book, I don't know.
Here is my opinion, and this is my opinion. If we look at this as a spiritual document, I think the Bible is being written as we uncover truth. I think it is being revealed in the original context of the intentions of it was to move the heart of man and to show man who he is. And I think that's what we're doing as we uncover truth. So in an academic sense, I'm not sure that we'll ever know that, or even if it matters from a spiritual perspective. I think this is the more important aspect of it. And I don't mean that to belittle anything that's in the book at all. I appreciate what, to be able to look at these words and unravel the meanings of them and be able to put things together. So again, I hope all of that helps. Nick, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah.
I can understand you putting it in that perspective. I can understand that now.
Okay.
And yeah, let me add one last thing before we move to the next question. Many of the stories in the Bible, as we think of them as we've learned them, in the same way that we say that in the New Testament, where we see that Jesus taught in parables, that is always a sort of method of teaching the principles of sort of spirituality, consciousness, etc., which are underlying and sort of hidden behind the story itself.
Yeah.
So many of those stories in the Old Testament are those groups of people's reinterpretations of how to remember and teach themselves the original spiritual principles that these things would have been based on.
Okay.
Whatever the specific aspect of spirituality, consciousness, etc., that it was based on. But the story is the means by which an sort of oral tradition carries on. It's easier to remember stories and things like that than it is to remember like quote unquote information, if you get what I
Yeah.
mean. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Evelyn, I apologize to you. I just want to make sure we were finished looking at that. If you're
Oh, yeah. No doubt. We're not going to leave anybody behind. We talked about previously gatekeepers, and I don't remember. I have a lot going on in my mind, but did we ever say what's the role of a gatekeeper?
yeah,
And are we all gatekeepers? That's my question.
that's a good question. If anyone who may not have been on last week, we were speaking of gatekeepers from the book. There's a book out called The Spirit of Intimacy, uh, and it is about a community. I don't want. I'm like Pastor. I don't want to say a tribe but a little village, a little gathering community of people who were born, raised together, and they're like family. And the intimacy is the oneness of the group, the oneness of the community. And I fell in love with the little book myself because it reminds me of how and what we can be. And not only as a people of a Kabbalah descent, but a people globally, being what a nation's supposed to look like. And so the gatekeepers were those people that we in our Western society call homosexuals. And what they believed that these people were highly spiritual. And somebody else help me out if you've read this stuff, okay? So they were not only a part of the earth, but a part of the spiritual world. That's why they're called gatekeepers. And they were able to help people sort things out in their lives and able to see things that you may not be able to see, as far as being able to step away from the humanity or whatever your problems may be, because of we're not used to being spiritual. We're used to being religious, but we're not used to being spiritual. And you touched it right on the head. I was very hesitant uh, about introducing this portion of it or saying it, but I think we all have the capacity to being gatekeepers, recognizing who you are and recognizing that your true being is internal and not external, and recognizing that we're connected from that portion of us that looks at love and compassion and seeing ourselves from that perspective and letting that be how we see others. So we're all connected. We're all gatekeepers in the sense that we're spiritual and we're human. And if you have the heart for the betterment of mankind, that is part of what that is. So I probably skip a lot of stuff, but if anybody else has any insight or anything, please help me out.
Well, Ron, I want to add too. I think where we mess up in life, we start labeling things.
Yes.
We all, like you said, we all have, you said the potential to be gatekeepers. I don't know if that's what you said, but anyway, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. But we all have feminine and male energies.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then we all are gatekeepers. Am I wrong?
I see it that way, and I see uh, again the word homosexual to me is negative, uh, but I look at people, the creator being a part of that as to saying there's going to be love in the earth. There's going to be somebody in the earth that loves mankind and sees themselves from a spiritual perspective. And we in the Western world, we beat up people so bad. And as you say, we label everything and everything is negative. And part of this, we talk about taking away Christianity and religion and bearing ourselves to truth. But part of that religious stripping away is what we're talking about now. Uh, we label everybody, and everything is negative. And if you're not like me, then you're dead wrong. So yeah, I do. I see us all as being, and I think that is what I said. We all have the potential of being gatekeeper. We all have the makeup of being spiritual beings and seeing ourselves as that if we explore uh, who we are. So yeah, that's
So that's who we are. Just like you said, that's who we are. And as far as the potential, that word for some reason, I
yeah,
just think that's just who we are. It's
yeah.
not that we have the potential. That's who we are. So yeah, you answered my question, and I love the answer. Thank you.
I love that term gatekeeper. I love that better than it's a freeing term. It is I allow you to be, you allow me to be, and together we make up the universe. We are both one with the universe, and my individuality and Nick's individuality and Evelyn's individuality, uh we all make up the life of the universe, and that of the trees and natures and rocks and sand and the stars. We're all part of that. We're all one. So all of that to me is part of being a gatekeeper, being able to see the spirituality in that. Good question. Anyone else? I
Sure.
wanted to, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Nick.
No problem. Well, just quickly, without knowing the full context, yeah, I agree. It just sounds like when you develop this as sort of spiritual discernment, you can act as a gatekeeper in the sense that you determine, you individually and us, all people collectively, what comes into the earth and what kinds of mindsets or energies are allowed to flourish within the earth, I think. So it's like it sounds to me like a aspect of our ability to exercise discernment with what we choose to create and allow to make up our environment. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, Very good questions. Pastor, we've just gotten started. I saw where you logged on. Uh, First question Val had for us was who wrote the Bible, and we went into that a little bit, talking about the history of it and some of the confusion of it, and concluded with, in my opinion anyway, that we are writing the Bible as we speak. The spiritual significance of it anyway, not necessarily penning the words on paper, but we are unfolding the truth from it. And that is the more important spiritual part of it that comes out of it. But your take on those two questions, please, if you will.
I agree that we're writing. I agree that we are actually correcting what is called the Bible, because the Bible is based upon writings that were manipulated 2,000 years ago plus. When we really think about it, African history doesn't have dates. Have you noticed that?
Hmm.
The dates that are applied to African history are based on the dates that are applied by Europeans.
Okay.
Biblical history does not have dates. Spiritual history does not have dates because they are beyond dating. They are passed along through sacred writings and through storytelling. Our history did not end. It was, as I said before, interrupted. But if you look at the dating of history, Africans never really dated history. It was dated based upon Europeans. When we talk about 4 million years ago, that was because of carbon dating, not because we found something written that said that it was 4 million years ago. Would you mute your phone, please? This whole idea of dating history is pretty much a new phenomenon. Not a bad one by any means, but pretty much a new phenomenon. So I guess what I'm trying to say in essence is this. We are in a position now where we are not only writing, but we're giving not new meaning, but we're giving an understanding to these writings that has not been in the earth since Europeans entered, since Greeks entered Kemet and and began to force the inhabitants of Kemet to make them gods and to actually put in writing those things that were beneficial to Europeans. And if you study the Acacian schism, you will see how that pretty much worked out in terms of the debates that took place. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's a little more information. Does that help any?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you for the question. Um, let's see, it was something else I had.
What you have it yet wrong.
I'm thinking. I didn't write this down and I should have.
Okay.
Uh,
I
I know one thing I would ask Pastor, if you don't mind. Is Teresa on the line this morning?
I don't see her.
Okay. Teresa asked, brought up some individuals that are having, being caught up in the layoffs and goings on with the federal government. And I just wondered if she had an update for us how those individuals were doing. But that's okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pastor.
I yesterday I was in a thread with some people, and we were discussing how things are, how they've come to be, rather, during this period of Trumpism, as best I can put it right now. It started with this preacher who was talking about how things were in terms of uh, the people wanted us to help them And what we really got into is the understanding that the Creator has put us in a position that I don't think most of us are quite cognizant of. And we have talked about how the African is supposed to, or is the one rather, to bring harmony to the earth. And when we look at what's going on around us right now with our eyes, it does not seem harmonious at all. And it doesn't appear that any harmony is going to come from this chaos. However, when we look at it from with our eye, it tells us a totally different story and gives us a much clearer picture. It is my contention that we, as the children of Kabbalah, have more authority in the earth than we've had since we came in contact with Europeans from the beginning. And I see that in the words that Barbara said, we have them right where we want it. And if you extrapolate that out to what is going on, I think you will see that we are in a stronger position of authority. Why? If we did not have the amount of authority that it takes to bring harmony to the earth, if we were powerless people, then why is it that the brown people and the Caucasian people, especially white women, are waiting for us to make things better for them? Why are they pushing for us to get involved? If we were powerless and inferior as they say we are, then why would they want some inferior people without power and without intellectual ability to process anything that's going on? Why would they want us to save them? Does that make sense so far?
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying in essence is that we need to begin to truly recognize the authority that we have, the authority that we are, as opposed to feeling as though we are in this world waiting for the next shoe to drop. Actually, we are the next shoe, and we choose when we drop it. The other thing about that is this as well. We talk every week 3 times, and I don't want us to get so accustomed to this until we lose sight of what we are doing. We have changed the way a large number of ministers are speaking now. You hear pastors talking about, we are not getting in the streets to help you. We hear pastors talking about brown people, you thought they were coming after us, and now they're after you. White women, you chose this bed that you must lay in it, suffer the consequences. And I'm talking about Baptist preachers all over the country. However, there are still those, like I almost called some names, I'm sorry, almost. There's still those, like some I know, who are still doing the same thing they've always done. And I think that we need to think about the mindset of pastors that has shifted from what it was, and the reason it shifted is because of what we have been putting in the macro. Any questions about that further? I mean, before I go further. Um,
You talk about recognizing it though. Go into that a little bit. To what degree?
what do you mean when you ask me that?
You recognizing what is going on and helping us to see who we are. That to me is very important as this thing unfolds, because part of what's part of what you're describing is everybody else is seeing who the African is. I wonder if the African is seeing it too to that degree, is all I'm saying.
I don't think they are seeing it to that degree. I don't. I think it's a possibility for them to see it to that degree. I don't think that they see it to the degree that they're Africans. I just, Sheldon, I just sent something to you. If you could play that, I'd appreciate it. And this will explain, make it easier, Ron, for me to explain what you're asking, okay? Are you there, Sheldon? Hello? I guess he's not. Thought I saw his number.
I am. You have to give me a moment though.
Oh, okay, okay. I don't think they recognize exactly what's happening, Ron, in terms of where we are African people, because the ones to whom the ones who I have listened at, I doubt very seriously if they would say anything about being African beyond being African American.
Well, part of what I'm as we grow in our experiences on this phone, and I understand energy, part of the recognition is the changing of energy. It's not so much an action has to be done, but the recognition itself carries a weight, is what I'm saying. Does that make sense? Or am I?
Well, it does in what you're saying. However, when I think about that in relationship to the ones who are doing the preaching, right? I don't. I think they still see it as a religious thing when in reality it is a spiritual message that they're
Yeah,
delivering. Am I
yeah,
making sense wrong?
yeah.
I think, yeah, that's what I think it is. But it doesn't matter what they label it. You can label cats as being biscuit, but it doesn't make them biscuits. So, they can label the spiritual message as being our religion. It doesn't matter. It carries the same effect. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I do believe that without even knowing it or thinking about it, we have influenced that shift of the message, and the exposure also is taking place when you listen at um, a preacher who talks about closing the door, don't let anybody out. They're gonna raise $40,000 until they raise 40 grand. I mean, that in itself is ridiculous. You look at that and people are like, that's sick. But then when you look at the other aspects of that and see people who were caught up in this religious setting, all of a sudden now they're talking about um, the nature of what we are doing in relationship to all of the negativity and the chaos that we are facing. And as soon as Sheldon is ready and plays that short a clip, I think we'll get a better picture of what we're talking about. So just let us know, Sheldon, when you're ready, okay? Um, I also am saying that in addition to what we are experiencing here, and I'll go back to that when Sheldon is ready. What we're experiencing here is is the same thing that Europeans are experiencing worldwide. And what I mean by that is um, when you look at what's happening in Germany, the same thing that's happening in Germany is happening in America. If you in Germany are protesting against Israel and what it is doing, then what happens? This lady I read, listened to her talk and read stories about others on that Al Jazeera who were terminated because they accused Israel, and rightfully so, of being engaged in genocide. And then you got Israel is terminating anyone and trying to put them turn the people against them for challenging the policies of genocide that they're engaged in Gaza, Lebanon, the West Bank, and in Yemen, and the U.S. deporting people because they speak out against genocide and racism. All of these France is facing this ultra white nationalist surge in their country, and Britain is facing pretty much the same thing. So what I'm saying in essence is that all of these things are happening, that's happening here are happening in other European countries as well. And when you consider that Donald Trump sent a letter to France telling them that the companies who function here had to embrace the government's position on DEI and with the expectation of them responding I think within a week or so. All of these things that are happening are happening for a reason. And if we see the chaos in this country as being a precursor to harmony worldwide, then we have to see the chaos in European countries, period, being a precursor to global harmony. Does that make sense so far?
Yes. To
Any
me.
questions about that? So with these precursors in place, with this chaos in place, I do not believe that it's going to take as long as we think it is. I know it's not in this country, but I'm certain that it won't in other countries as well. Because if I do not believe that our Creator has put us in a position not simply to be an intercessor, but to have the authority to bring humanity to a place of balance. If I didn't believe that the Creator has granted us the authority to do what was done when Africans entered Europe, and that is to civilize them, make an attempt to anyway. If I didn't believe that, I would not waste your time on these calls. And the reason I say that is because sometimes it looks like things are never going to change. And we are so accustomed to doing something physically until we feel like nothing is being done because we don't see it happening physically. However, we are engaged in a spiritual battle, and the spiritual battle can only be seen through spiritual eyes, meaning that the progress that's being made that guides us towards harmony cannot be seen with the eyes. It's only seen with the eye. And as long as we make an attempt to see with our eyes, we are going to make efforts to explain what's happening through our minds as opposed to based upon our souls. And I think that we need to understand that difference, that difference of what's happening. We are closer now to the end of this spiritual battle than we have ever been in the history of our intermingling with Europe. We are closer now than we have ever been because of the authority that we are recognizing. And that authority and power that we are recognizing is predicated on recognizing who we are, embracing it, and living according to it, as opposed to vacillating. You cannot live in a house of religion and expect to have insight in the house of spirituality or in the universe of spirituality. That's not going to happen. You cannot seek the quote unquote privileges of religion and expect at the same time to be the spiritual being that brings harmony to humanity. That's not going to happen. So anyway, if there are no questions, I'm gonna see if Sheldon is ready. If not, then there may be a couple other things to be addressed.
Yes, I'm ready, but I need the moderator to grant me access to share.
Okay. Vermeil? Vermeil?
I clicked on it already.
Oh, okay, good.
Sheldon, do you have it? Or do I need to do something else? Let me see.
I have it now, Ms. Miller. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Ain't even mad. I feel bad for the brown people who thought they were better than black people, who are now facing deportation. I feel bad for the white women who didn't realize they were the real DEI hires and were gonna lose their job. I feel bad for Columbia and Emory and Johns Hopkins losing $300, $400, and $800 million, but HBCUs ain't never had that kind of money. I feel bad for the Tesla dealerships that gotta close because they lost $900 billion since December because they forgot it ain't electricity, it's people that power this nation. I feel bad for them. A little bit, until I remember the words of that black sister with cornrows. Until you do right by me, nothing you do is gonna work. I tried to feel bad.
Thank you. Now, I'm not asking you to listen to his tonality, his deliverance, but I'm asking you to listen to his words. Those words that were uttered, those are the words that I'm talking about, came from our influence. That is not a typical Sunday morning sermon. You know that, and I know that. That is not a typical approach to what's happening in this country. Rather than doing it, delivering that message with those words, in the past, it would have been, let's pray for them. Let's pray for their hearts to change. Let's ask God to touch their soul so that they too can become Christians as we are. Let them know what Christianity is about, blah, 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 blah. Jesus go blah, 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 blah. That's what it would have been in the past. Now, I want to ask a question that's not rhetorical. Where do you think those words came from, that approach? This is not rhetorical. I bet you if I would have said you get it immediately.
Pastor,
What,
what was the question again?
where did those words originate? Where did they come from?
Out of the macro?
Yeah, so say we put it out there in the zeitgeist.
We put it in the macro, but it's even deeper than that. Those words has their origin from the lips of African women. The first people who were going to use those terms that he was using were African women. We talked about it, we put it in the macro, but it became public through African women. And right now, if you were to look at social media, you will find that the majority of the people who are using those words, who are recognizing the power in what's happening, are African women. I think it was it looking, George said, GC from Philly said that the cosmic mother has spoken or is speaking, and that's exactly what's happening here. And I'm saying that this is the first time that you've had African preachers in a pulpit who are being influenced in a mighty, mighty way by the words and the energy of African women. Influencing African women has always influenced the church, but they've not influenced the message of the church. Now those influences are becoming more and more prevalent. Does that make sense, guys? Or questions about that?
What's the significance of it?
Of what?
That influence.
The significance of it is that all we've talked about in the past, well, a lot of what we talked about was the necessity and respected who the cosmic mother is, who this feminine energy is and what it does, the power of it, and the respect that the disrespect rather that it had been enduring all of these years. And after we during our discussions about that, we were going to see a rise in the support for African women and recognizing the power in what they had to say. And now we are at a space where when we look at it with our spiritual eye, we are hearing that the words of the cosmic mother are coming from the lips of those males who are in male chauvinistic religious settings. And even now, we're also hearing males talk about, males in those settings rather, talking about how the Black woman has been disrespected. And we hear them talk about the necessity in listening to our African women. Now, am I saying that's happening everywhere? No, I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that it is happening with a great number of religious pastors who are respected by religious people. And I'm saying that the message that's out there is coming from them, and the message coming from them is a message that is demanding respect for the African female. The message is recognizing that until the respect for the African femininity is in place, nothing will change. I hear this over and over again that we must support our African women. I hear over and over again from African women that the 92% and the 80% are sitting back waiting for things to come, for waiting rather for our opportunity to bring a change to everything that's before us. Those things I'm hearing on social media. So the reason for it is to show us where we are and how much change that we have brought into effect since the time that we started doing what we are doing. Does that make sense, Ron?
Yes.
Audrey?
This is Barbara. I believe also that what we did in allowing African women to voice their hurt and their concern and their discouragement and the way they've been feeling. If you remember that session that we had on Zoom, that was a gateway in a sense for ushering in the quote unquote even quicker opportunity for change to be manifested as it went into the macro. So we can't not discount any of what we do, anything about what we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well said.
Any other questions, comments? So we all excuse me, saying is that we are having a global influence on everything that's taking place. That's all I'm saying. And that global influence is already benefiting humanity. And the benefits of it is not necessarily shown in the balance of what we think balance should look like. Again, everything must be uprooted first before this can take place. Kathy raised a question, and one of the questions was to me, and one of the questions was, or to us, was are we experiencing the curse? Is this the curse of our ancestors that's being experienced by Europeans? My response is that the curse was invited by virtue of them defying the laws of the universe. And what does that mean? As long as the laws of the universe has been defied and nothing seemingly has happened to change. The laws of the universe says that the most spiritual people on the earth are Africans. That's what the laws of the universe says. However, that's the same as having a bank account and don't know you have it. You're living in poverty when you don't have to, but it's available to you. What's available to you is for you to be as above, so is below, to be what you represent, what you are. As above, so is below. It's not just talking about the global experience, it's also talking about, excuse me, the individual experience. If you are not striving to be as things are above, so it can be realized below, then you're not striving to know who you are. When you become aware of who you are, then you become one with the laws of the universe. And when you become one with the laws of the universe, it is then that you are able to bring into existence not only the realization of what's happening, but also a method for bringing it to an end. As long as Africans do not realize the authority, the power that they have inherently, or that we have inherently, nothing changes, because we make no efforts to change it. Our efforts to change anything has to be spiritual. It cannot be through governmental agencies, because these are governmental agencies that we did not establish, neither did the universe establish them. These are governmental agencies that were established for the express purpose of humiliating and dominating people of color, particularly the African. And when we began to see who we are, embrace who we are, and experience who we are, we do not allow ourselves to be dominated in that manner anymore. And our desires are different than those desires that the governmental entities say our desires should be. And when I speak of governmental entities, I'm talking about the schools that we have matriculated through as well. When we began to see the difference between education and manipulation, it is then that our spiritual eye opens. And when that eye opens, that is when we began to see a change. That is when we began to experience chaos, knowing that this chaos is leading to order. The day that we said, not on our watch, that is the day that we determined, without even knowing it, that our eye was going to be the prevailing sight that we were guided by. And since that time, we have been moving to the place where we are now. And there is no doubt in my mind that not only did we get Obama elected, we got Trump elected as well, by virtue of our declaring that on my watch. In order for our humanity to survive, then there has to be a mitigating force engaged with the negative energy of this earth in order to transform it. The idea of saying that not on my watch, we were thinking that this was talking about in the terms of the assets, the demise of humanity on the earth in a physical way. What we were actually seeing was the demise of the humanity spiritually. That spirituality was there was a major attempt to smother spirituality, and if there was no one to stand in the gap, then we would not be where we are now. Our religion would be the predominant force, as it has been in the past, with no end in sight. But when we say it not on our watch, what we were actually saying is that religion is coming to an end. We were saying that all these isms are coming to an end. And the way that they are going to end is that we are going to bring them to an end, because they will no longer be influential in this earth realm. We are the ones who are going to have the influence of righteousness in this earth, so that humanity can experience the joy and the glory that humanity was brought into existence to experience. And now here we are. Here we are in this space, recognizing that it is the universe who has caused us to be able to see that the curse was invited from the day that we came in contact with European, and they, as well as we, have been living under that curse until we got to a place now where we are saying no longer means that we will no longer live under this curse. We will not label under a curse of inferiority. We will not label under a curse of servitude. We will no longer labor under a curse, being ashamed of what we look like, we will recognize that who told us that our hair was bad, who told us that we should be ashamed of our skin, who told us that we were to be ashamed of our thick lips and broad nose, who told us that we were to be ashamed of our origin. When we came to grips with that and began to overtly deal with that, it is at that point that our eye opened enough for us to see what was necessary and for us to see not only what was necessary for us as Africans, but what was necessary for humanity in totality. Because if we see is necessary for the African, then we also see is necessary for everyone who came from the womb of the African. And that's where we are right now. It's imperative upon us to recognize continuously that we are standing in the gap for humanity. That when we said not on our watch, and I cannot reiterate this enough, we were saying humanity will not be dominated by religion and governmental servitude any longer. People of color will take their rightful stand, and those people, us who are melanated, will make sure that our melanated existence, our melanated essence, our melanated emotions become the emotions of humanity. We are committed to creating in our likeness and our image, because our likeness and our image does not dominate anyone. It simply makes sure that righteousness prevails throughout the earth. Does that make sense, guys? Do you
Yes.
agree with that? Any questions about that?
It does make sense. However, I was a little confused about what curse Kathy meant.
I wanted to explain that. Thank you for asking that, Audrey. The reason I asked about a curse is the line that man used, that preacher used in the soundbite that we just heard. That is the curse that Miss Seeley put on Mr. in The Color Purple after his total abuse of her, constant abuse. She says to him, with her hand pointed at him using a particular sign, that everything that you do will not prosper. Nothing you do will prosper until you do right by me. And I think that's in the movie when she's leaving him. So she actually put a curse on him. And so the thing that catches my attention when this pastor is saying this, I don't even know, and that was my next question to Pastor, is he even aware what he's pulling from the macro? Because I had not, everything that we were told and supposedly taught from the scriptures said that the man of color, the dark man, was the cursed being. And of course, we debunked that a very long time ago. But my point is, does he even realize what he's pulling and what he's saying? Because the constant disrespect of femininity and just femininity in as a whole has put those that are adversaries, because they stand against what is right and what is true, they become our adversaries, has put them in a place of being cursed. I had never thought of that until I heard him say that. And that's where my question came from, because what he referenced was a curse that was put on someone in The Color Purple. And so that was my question. And who's perpetuating the curse now? And that's what Pastor just explained, because I wondered if life and death is in the power of the tongue, blessings and curses, and we're not even speaking curses on them or death, how is the curse being perpetuated now? How are they being cursed by their very own actions? And that's what Pastor just explained. So I hope that makes sense now, Audrey. And thank you for allowing me to share.
Audrey?
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. That makes sense.
Now to further that, the curse. I do not believe for a moment that he knew what he was saying, because when you're a preacher, there are things you say that excites people, that gets their attention, that moves them you say those slick things, you know, bumper sticker things, just to move them. So I do not believe that he knew exactly what he was saying. The other thing is that we are taught that a curse is something that is bad. A curse uncovers things. And until you do right by me, it's saying that if you don't do right by me, everything you're doing is going to be uncovered. That's the curse. And what happens when everything is uncovered? Right now, everything is being uncovered. That is the curse. And by the uncovering of everything that is illicit, we are beginning to see the downfall of these governmental entities as well as these religious entities that were the pillars of the government. We are seeing them crumble, and they were not crumbling until the revelation of their true essence was revealed to mankind. And that true essence being revealed to mankind results in this crumbling. And the crumbling of it begins because the people who realize that they have been and are being used, manipulated, and abused, when they recognize that, they began to demand something different. And that energy that demands something different, those who know who they are, those who are standing in the gap, those who understand the necessity in repurposing energy, begins to repurpose that energy of those who are seeking for something better. And the repurposing of that energy is not done by us reaching out saying we go remold or reshape this energy. How it is done is by our recognizing who we are, understanding the words that are written in sacred text, and putting it in the macro. And when it's in the macro, that's when the energy is repurposed. And right now, we see white women in particular releasing their energy to be repurposed by us by saying, where are they? Where is Kamala? How come Black folk are not out here with us? That is the repurposing of energy. They are releasing their energy to us. They are releasing the authority that they thought they had anyway over themselves to us. And what are we doing with it? We are saying, keep your powder dry. We are saying, allow the revealing of everything that's detrimental to take place before we begin to build on a new foundation and bring into existence a new nation. Does that make sense? In reference to the curse. Kathy and Audrey.
It does, yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it does, since you didn't ask me, but yes. But anyway, I have a comment.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, but let me say, may I make a comment, please? The guy, which is Jamal, I think his name is Jamal Bryant, that pastor in Atlanta, something, whatever. So, Pastor, sometimes the way he delivered the message, although he may not know what he was saying or knew what he was saying, does it not sometimes take that to get the people to hear what you say? Because you have to reach people from where they are. So that's the way I see that. And again, like you said, he may not knew what he was saying, but God can use us to deliver a message to someone just so they can get it. And I know he had to have planted a seed. Does that make sense?
He got his message from the macro. He didn't get it from the table at the convention where they buy.
Correct.
He got it from the macro.
Yeah.
The way he delivered, Of course he delivered the way he did. And you've heard me say 1,000 times, I don't choose how I'm going to deliver a message. When I began to deliver a message to people, it takes its own shape. Meaning that if it takes delivering a message the way he did, that's what comes out of me. If it takes me delivering a message the way I'm talking now, that's what comes out of me. I don't choose that. It just happens. Why? Because as you said, you got to reach people where they are. And if they're going to hear you through that, by that type of deliverance, because that's what they're accustomed to, they will hear it. And what you end up getting, man, he's so deep. Did you hear what he said? I never heard that before. That's what the results of delivering in a way that people understand. That's the results of it. But if you're just saying the same old nothing over and over again, then they were like, yeah, we sure had a good time. And that's the end of it. Does that make sense, Evelyn?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And another thing too, when I've heard, and I'm gonna say Ron because he says this a lot, which I know everybody has said this before, the teachers, but when Ron said this is the best time for us to be in the earth, I didn't understand it at first because I'm like, well, ain't nothing happening. But now I think with everyone, when you see the fruits of your labor, you begin to say, okay. And that's just me. Maybe it's just me. But when I see the things that's happening in the universe, I'm like, okay, God, I see you, or whatever. I see how you move, and I see this and that. So now I understand that we are making a difference in the universe. And I am glad to be here at this appointed time. Do I like the way the situations feel that I'm going through? No, it's bitter. But you have to put the candy in the medicine in order to get healed. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, you might well be happy to hear. You still here.
In terms of his delivery, Evelyn, yes, he got it from the macro, but he delivered it in his sort of material religious kind of way, because that's all he knows. But the creator can use that too, to get the message across.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
This is Barbara. I'd like to visit the term curse again because, curse has always been such a negative thing. We've always been taught that it's something that comes upon you that you don't want to have upon you. But if we look at what's happening, I see it in a broader context, that what's happening is we've not been in alignment with principles of the universe. And principles of the universe say that what goes around comes around. Principles of the universe say, as above, so below. There's a cause and an effect to everything. And so in terms of a curse, I really don't see it as a curse. I see it as, what the seeds of what were planted are the fruit of what came up. And that's not necessarily a righteous fruit. And so that's what we're seeing evidence of that has to be pulled up by its roots, so that that righteous fruit can be planted. Fruits based on principles of the universe. And I don't see it as a curse. I see it as reciprocity. I don't see it as a curse so much as I see it as, again, a larger kind of thing. You do the right thing because it's right to do. Once you know what truth is, and that you are truth, and that you are God in the earth, you do what's right, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, whatever, because it's right to do. All of those are from the principles of the universe. Thanks.
Barbara Jean.
Yes.
How are you defining curse?
Well, when I I see that labeled as a curse. But if we don't put any labels around it and call it a curse, don't label it as curse, but see it as how is this different from the basic principle of the universe and how it functions, and it kind of opens it up more to me.
Okay.
Usually when we say curse, for someone who has had that perception of and been told how curse is defined in the past by whatever religion, whatever, then that comes across as a negative kind of thing. But it's really, there's nothing positive or negative. It is just sowing and reaping. What you plant is what you get, kind of thing. And I'm not clear in the way I'm saying that, but
No, the reason I asked is because the curse is the uncovering of something.
Yeah, can I think that's a brilliant observation. What we're talking about here is spiritual maturity. If you can't see things from a pure spiritual perspective, you see them as something negative. And Barb said, "This is how I see it," meaning she sees it from the top. She sees the whole thing. It's like bringing somebody in the room and saying, "What do you see?" And you see, I say the doorknob. Well, you're in a big 2,000 square foot room. That all you see is the doorknob. You take a 2-year-old and you tell a 2-year-old, these are the rules, you don't do this. And the 2-year-old eventually says, why am I always getting in trouble? Because you see, your eyes can only see from a 2-year-old. Expand your horizon a little bit. Okay, these are my parameters, and I can only do these things. And then you won't see the punishment as something bad. You see that this is a correction. Okay, I've been told I can't do this, but I keep doing this. Why do I keep doing this? Now it becomes a learning thing, and I see myself. So what I see Barb as explaining is, once you grow to a spiritual self and you see these things, you no longer see them as something negative or something bad. But as long as you're in your religious mindset, this is a curse to you. It is something that cannot be viewed from through the eye, if you will. Not sure if that helps, but that's what I kind of saw in what she was explaining.
All I was saying is that I made an attempt to define what a curse is as opposed to what we've been taught it is. It's simply uncovering something. So what I think what Barbara was talking about also is that what was being revealed to us is not negative, is not positive, it's just what's being revealed. And the way we relate to it determines the positivity or the negativity of it. Does that make sense? Because we have been talking about a curse all our life as being something negative. That's not what a curse is. That's never been what it is. It's simply something that is revealed, uncovered. That's it.
I was about to say, you can think of it as, this is Sheldon, a lesson or growth yet to be manifested. The only thing that quote unquote curse is supposed to be is that thing that pushes one to that change. So it's not at all different. Look at it negatively, look at it as a punishment by any means. And I would also say that typically that's looking at it from before that growth manifested itself, because once the growth is manifested itself, that same thing that may have pushed that growth, that served as a catalyst, is then no longer really looked at in the same negative way or seen necessarily as a curse. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question again. So are we changing or rewriting the definition of the religious language, the religion, the religious language now, because everything that the Europeans told us has always been negative, derogatory, or it just was not the truth. So are we rewriting or defining, or I don't know what term to use, the way we, I can't say, I don't know what word to use.
I think you're talking about experiences. Nothing spiritual can be defined in definitive terms. And that is the reason when you look at languages, context of the word determines what you're talking about. As opposed to in English, everything supposedly has a definition, what puts it in a box. However, when we talk about spiritual things, we're not talking about defining something that puts it in the box. Rather, we are talking about experiences that determines how things affect humanity, if that makes any sense.
It does. I see that. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Someone else is about to
So,
speak.
Pastor, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go
this is
ahead.
Audrey.
Go ahead.
I think referring back to what Barb was saying, if you're talking about the principles of Ma'at, I guess if you're completely out of balance, if there's no order, if there's no truth, if there's no justice for you, I feel like, yes, you could perceive that as a curse. You certainly can perceive that as a curse. If nothing is going right and nothing is going your way. So until you find balance and harmony and truth and justice, but until you do, yes, you can perceive that as a curse. So if you're not living in the spiritual principles, it can be perceived as a curse. Anyway, that was my point.
This is
And
Barbara.
on the heels of what Audrey.
Kathy,
Sorry, I'm trying to get this
I yield.
in. I yield.
I yield to you, Kathy.
I was just going to say on the heels of what Audrey said, that was the point I was getting ready to make. I don't see the African as ever having been cursed, because only the African American who was brought to America, who had all of the intuitive instincts and the understanding of who he is covered over, we have had to labor through that to find ourselves again. But when you speak of humanity, let me say not humanity, but the European mindset, who is railing against truth, who is railing against understanding anything spiritual, because we said they don't have the melanin, nor do they have the capacity to understand spiritual things because of that lack of melanin. What may happen to them when they choose not to conform and to accept the role of the African could very easily be perceived as a curse to them, because good things aren't going to happen for them. And so when that line was written into that movie, I didn't think about it again until I heard this preacher say it. I never looked at that from the aspect of that being the African that we're speaking to. Unless you're the African who refuses to embrace femininity, then good things may not come your way either, until you accept how the law and the order of the universe and how things are set up to play out in this universe. But I guess I'm looking at it that there will be negative connotations for those who deny spiritually who they are. And you can perceive that as lack of understanding, opportunity for growth, and all of those things. I don't think any of those things are wrong. But I think when bad things begin to happen to you, and the things that you have held in high esteem, like your white privilege and white supremacy and all the things that you think you are begin to crumble, they will see that as some type of disastrous curse. And that's just my take on it. So thank you for allowing me to share that.
Anyone else?
This is Barbara. I hear what Kathy and I hear what Audrey is saying, are saying, and yes, it's from the person's perspective, how they perceive things, but it's from our perspective as teachers and those on the path to enlightenment to put it in the context of yes, this is where you perceive it until you come to the knowledge, and we have the knowledge. We have the knowledge that it is not being in alignment with principles of the universe, and that's what we need to put in the macro. That you and I hear what you're saying, Kathy. They define it as something that's things just not. I can't get anything to go right for me. I just feel like I got a curse on me. Yes, that's their negative perception of it, and yes, they feel it. And we've been there before we understood that, oh, that's why that's happening. We have to continue to speak what the truth is. The truth is that people, humanity, until they align with the principles of the universe, yes, their perception is going to be that of negativity. And that negativity is going to define it as a curse or a hurt. But all I'm saying is we also have the responsibility to understand, and I think we're all saying the same thing. We understand that they perceive that as a curse, but we know the truth to be that they're not living, when we're not living in alignment with universal principles, then all of the stuff comes to us and it's perceived through our lived experiences. And if our lived experiences have always been negative because we haven't been doing unto others as we want them to do us, there hasn't been, I'm planning, I'm saying nice things about people because I believe people are basically nice and I want them to know that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going in circles, so I'll stop.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, and I agree with that. We're saying the same thing. And we are the people who know. If we're the people of the way and we know the way and we know the truth, then we can't be swayed by what we've been told in the past, and even about a curse. I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, but I still also was just pointing out that there will be those who will feel like what has gone wrong in my life and my curse. But I understand what you're saying. We have to put truth in the macro so that even in their hours of despair, as they seek to tap into the universe, to pull from the universe the truth and the understanding about what is going on, and still having that ability and opportunity to change, then we can't be swayed by thinking it's something negative. So I agree with what you're saying. Thank you.
Right, I agree with what you just said.
You know, when we are cognizant of who we are, then we never, ever think that we are laboring under a curse in the sense that the church has taught us a curse is. Ever. Because regardless of what we perceive to be going wrong in our lives, we know that it's not there to destroy us. It's there to strengthen us. It's there to show us where we are and to guide us to where we need to be. Does that make sense? Because I honestly don't believe that we can be true to who we are and feel like that we're laboring under a curse. Does that make sense to you guys? Hello?
Yes.
Because, it's painful, but we, just like all the other religious concepts that we have to purge from our understanding, this is a major one. It's real major. And the reason is because the people who are being terminated from our employment now and asking themselves, what did I do to deserve this? I rendered the tithe. I go to church. I'm a good person, and yet all of this is happening to me. That in itself is saying, ask the question, why am I laboring under the curse? So I just believe that we cannot we don't believe that if you know who you are. That's all. I'm done.
Barb said something though that got my attention. Maybe she said and it's the same thing everybody has said, but she said, if I can say it right, we know that it's not a curse, but we keep experiencing the human experience. Is that what you said? Is that how you said it? And I caught my
Yes, it's our felt human experience that gives us the perspective. If we're unenlightened, it gives us the perspective that we are cursed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Ron, that's what I was trying to say.
That's it. Okay. Sheldon kept trying to say something too, and never got in.
No, I said everything I have.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Anyone else? Let me add the general understanding of what we were talking about in terms of the curse from those who have not been said anything or offered any suggestions about it. Are you getting the understanding of this? That's the main thing, that you understand what we're trying to say, or what we're saying rather, not trying to. And that's not rhetorical.
Yes, I understand.
Okay,
I
good.
understand.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you're getting an understanding of this. That's all. And this is really us talking things out to we get an understanding. Is not that. Well, I don't agree with what you're saying. That's not it at all. It's that I'm not seeing clearly what you're saying yet, and that's how we get understanding. So I'm most appreciative of these types of discussions that we have. And it says again to everyone who's listening that we do not purport to have all the answers. That's it. We are searching for answers and understandings. Thank you.
And I would also add that understanding changes as we need it, as we grow as well in steps in a sense, but it's always changing to a greater and greater depth.
Right. Well, God, I'm done if there are not any other questions or comments. Okay. Well, excuse me. Tomorrow we will talk again, and we will look at those things that the ancestors have granted us privilege to see. So I say to you, have a great day and be safe out there. And we look forward to talking with you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Love you guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Love everybody.